Can I ask you about Jimmy Kindhorst and Carl Ablett first of all? Brian, huge blow to lose them for a large chunk of games.
Yeah, it's disappointing for both. Both been in great form. Carl has been really good this year, as has Jimmy Kindhorst. So let's hope when they go inside Carl's knee tomorrow, I think it is, that we just find a small bit floating about that he has cleaned out. Jimmy Kindhorst is a bit more sinister, although it's only a small tendon in his finger. It's such a long layoff because I'm not sure, but it's such an important part of his gripping ability, if you like. So Jimmy's going to be anywhere between 10 and 12 weeks, and let's hope Carl's no more than eight weeks.
Both centre, second row, is it going to be a huge reshuffle required then as a result?
Well, we have to do some reshuffling. Let's hope it's not huge. Missing Brad Singleton, who's been starting a lot of games at loose forward so far this year, and missing Brett Ferris now. We just don't seem to be able to get some consistency with our back rowers this year so far, in terms of appearances. So yeah, it'll stretch us a little bit, but let's see how tomorrow night pans out.
Joel Moon looks like he's enjoyed playing in the halves. I think you've enjoyed him playing in there. I've seen a couple of interviews with you post-game talking about him. Is he likely to move back into the centre then? Jordan Lilly coming back from Bradford give you an extra option?
No, he can roll there. He can certainly roll back in there. You're correct though. He is having some joy there. And your halves need to be able to scare the opposition that you're going to run and break tackles and be an individual threat as well as in servicing everybody else as a half, which is important. You've got to make sure other people are in the right position. You're putting them in the right holes and all that type of stuff. You've got to be a threat yourself, and Mooney does that, and then some. But that's not to say he won't play centre again.
Making out like it's all bad news. Keith Galloway's coming back. Stevie Ward available again. That's good news.
Yeah, Stevie Ward just got through today's session, which was good. Likely he'll play as well. Keith Galloway we knew he was going to play early in the week, and for Stevie, who's in the times he's played so far this year was outstanding. His final game was outstanding. I think it was Salford, his final game, and had been outstanding up until that point. And Keith was such an important member of our pack last year, all the way through last year, and certainly when we got into those games at the back end where they were must-win games, he stood up to be counted, Keith, and we'll certainly. The significant thing for his return is that he'll take some pressure away from Adam Cuthbertson, who I think has been fantastic. He's been really strong, shown a lot of leadership so far this year as Cuthbert, and it's that Keith will add to some of that now.
Would it be wrong to expect too much from him though in his first game back, and then there's another one like 3 days later?
Well, given that he's been out and he hasn't, it's a leg injury, so therefore his running and return to play has been limited, and we'll give him some spell, we'll give him some game time there. I'm not sure how long we'll give him, and I think. But trouble with Keith is he's just a classic version. He does what it says on the tin, and I think he'll go out there and just bang out about 20 to 25 minutes and be as strong as ever. But we'll see.
Anything else happened during the week since the squad was announced?
That's enough, isn't it? How much more do you want to happen through the week?
Is it enough? Yeah, I'd like to cover all bases.
No, all good. We're into that period of the season, as I mentioned in the early rounds so far this year, where we get to Easter, and let's hope we're in great nick by Easter, because after Easter we won't train, and then we go through a period where we're going to lose some blokes when it's nationals, and then we quickly start looking at the second version of that double-up weekend, the second version of the Easter weekend, if you like, and how much quality training we'll be able to get in it will be limited. And I'm not talking about quality training as in what we produce. I'm talking about how much we can put into their bank accounts in terms of fitness and strength. And it's at this stage of the year that we just always seem to be withdrawing. We always seem to be taken out, and we're not able to put back in. And if you do that too much, you just end up gassed. You end up like a squad that's running on fumes. So it was important that we got a fair amount of work into what's made it just a little bit messy over the last 2 or 3 weeks is injuries and bans, and that's hurt us, and let's hope that doesn't hurt us too much.
Because the supporters, of course, love Easter. Get it twice this year, as you just mentioned. But do you think we ask too much of the players to play. Not only it's not just the Friday, Monday. It's the fact that you play.
Well, whenever I get asked questions like this, I always maintain the same answer because it's true. I don't know enough about the data. You know, there's a load of marketing people out there that will tell you the data says they do love it or they don't love it, and I've never seen the data, so I don't know whether that's true. Just by keeping my ear to the ground, as most coaches in rugby league do, I don't know if there's any data out there that says the game is far healthier with Easter. And I don't know if there's any data that says if we was to take Easter away, the game would fall on its backside. I'm not sure, but I will tell you this, that it's happened for 2 or 3 seasons now. The amount of a full complement of players that can train on a Monday after we've played Friday is becoming less and less. It's becoming limited, and as a coach, you're always trying to work out whether we're soft. You know, when we're just as a side issue, I'm always trying to make sure that players do train, even though they are full of niggles and pain and stiffness. But the fact remains that more blokes are reporting in on Monday, still in a position, in a condition where they can't take part in full training. Some of them do train, but they have to be pulled out of training because we don't want them to do the full session. That's on a Monday. And then, so I don't, you know, we're going to have that. We play Hull, and it will be a really physical game on Friday, and then 72 hours later we've got to play again. So I don't know, and my take on it would be it'd be interesting to see if we took Easter away, what would happen. And is there any data out there? Is there any information out there that says we've got to have it in? Now we've got Easter, which is an attraction, if you're going to call it an attraction. Then we've got the Magic Weekend, which is an attraction. And then we've got the Super 8s and the Middle 8s, which is, how much more do we need? The game's great, you know, these things that we must put up with, or we must have just in case it becomes a lesser version. I don't know.
I know JJB was on the radio with Dave Woods last night, and he said he still felt stiff last night from the previous game, let alone the players playing last night. And obviously, I know he's at a certain end of his career, but it obviously takes its toll.
I've said this in this room before that Dean Riddle came over. Dean Riddle he's a Kiwi, he's a rugby league conditioner. He's been in strength and conditioning for a long while. Was here for a while, and now he's on the staff with Seattle Seahawks in the NFL. And what they're finding is that they don't ask too much of their players 72 hours after a game. It's not until the full 4 days after the game do they do anything which is physically demanding. So, you know, sports science is great, and it has a bearing on the sport, and has had a huge bearing on the sport. Certainly since I played, we all trained too much back when I played, because we thought if you train harder than the opposition, you're going to win. If you train harder and more, well, what more often that meant is you were just more tired than the opposition. So there's a real benefit in sports science. And one of those benefits is that we find out what the players' bodies are like, what's their health like. You know, we can do all sorts of tests with them on the Monday morning to let you know whether they're predisposed to injury, whether they're fit and healthy. And all our data that we operate with now tells us that a good number of players can't take part in all of the session on a Monday 72 hours after. Now that's not my opinion. That's not spin. That's fact. And now we're going to play a game 72 hours after. So I think most players would be okay with it if the data said we need it because the sport, you know, the crux of the sport is Easter. I think that's a question worth asking.
Hull FC, what are you expecting from them? They got beat quite heavily at home last time out by Salford. Is it a bad time to go there? Is there a good time to go there?
Well, there'll certainly be a reaction, and you know, the fact that they've conceded 50 will mean there'll be a reaction from them. I don't think any team wants to visit a team after they've just been pumped. So, but they've been good. So of Hull, and you know, they're a strong unit, and yeah, we're expecting a real tough encounter there. We've had some joy there in the past, and we're hoping that continues.
Do you think that result may well be just an anomaly, like the anomaly that you may or may not have suffered? I don't know if it's time to ask you whether it was an anomaly at Castleford.
Yeah, I don't. You know, I don't think there's anything in Hull's game where you think I could see that was always coming, and I don't think anybody in the sport is immune to a bad day at the office. and you know it would seem that Hull's just had one there, but the fact remains that they'll have a reaction, and I'm sure they'll come out the dressing rooms full of juice, full of energy.
Ryan, if we can take you back to last week in Warrington, a couple of kicks led to tries there. Speaking to the players on Monday, they were disappointed with the way that they conceded, but they understand what they needed to put right. As a head coach, how do you approach that then in the days after, on the Monday and the Tuesday? The players know the mistakes that they've made. Where do you go from there?
Well, it's easier dealt with. The disappointing with those tries was that we were strong defensively throughout that whole game. Some of the numbers and some of the defensive numbers from the pack were incredible, and the amount of field position that we didn't have in that game over at Warrington meant that I came away from that ground thinking we're in good shape here. We're really frustrated we lost at Warrington, and we wanted to come away with a win. Of course we did, but you've got to look at the state of your team. Did we put in a great performance, and did we show enough toughness in there as well? That means that stays with you. In the build-up to both those tries, Warrington didn't stretch us too much. There weren't too many moments where, you know, we saved the try, but everybody's heartbeat is right up there because they looked like they were going to crack us. There were nothing in the 5 players leading up to it, and then they put a kick in, and we conceded a couple of tries. The first one was unbelievably lucky, in that you know I don't think the Warrington player had a grip of it, and Tommy Briscoe, in the process of catching it, knocked it out of his hand, and it falls into Atkins' lap. And the second try wasn't a try, was it? We can shrug his shoulders. It wasn't a try. You meant to say, yes, coach, it wasn't a try. It wasn't a try. He dropped the ball. It wasn't a try. So it's hard to answer the question when it wasn't a try, and it's a shame that went ahead. I'm not talking it was touch and go, and in my opinion it wasn't a try. It wasn't a try. It was a drop ball. So for the early stages of the game, for it to be you know 12 fall down and then 18 fall down through just some last play efforts, all tries scored on last plays. Yes, it's frustrating, but it also shows you that we've got some defensive resolve.
Westwood on Sutcliffe fitting punishment, would you say, this week?
Yeah, I've got no opinion on it really. I didn't have an opinion at the time. He caught him high and he caught him late, and that were the referee's words on the field. The question would be, why was it a yellow card? That wasn't a professional infringement, a professional foul. The referee assessed it on the field and said to him, you've caught him late and you've caught him high. Contact with the head late, contact with the head. And then visually, Sutton nearly does a 360, doesn't he? So it should have been a send-off at the time.
You've spoken about the fixtures and some of the things that Super League have brought in, with Kieran going at St Helens as well. What's your view on that and the direction that, from the outside, Super League seems to be going in at the moment? Because you look at the table and St Helens aren't yet out of it. Some would say perhaps a bit of a knee-jerk reaction there. What's your view on that?
What direction is it going in?
In terms of, you know, you say the Magic Weekend and the Easter and those kind of fixtures, and obviously with Kieran Cunningham, perhaps a shock for many that a club legend like that parting.
I'm not with you. You're asking that question from a standpoint. I don't know what your standpoint is. I'm not saying the game is going in any direction. Don't put words in my mouth.
No, I'm asking you, do you think it's going in a certain direction, and your reaction to what happened to Kieran Cunningham this week?
Do I think the game's going in a certain direction? Yes. No. In what direction? What?
Well, for example, perhaps glamorising the sport, or perhaps going towards football and that kind of thing. And I'm just curious of your view on it, really.
On the game's direction?
Yes.
No, I think it was really clear earlier, in which I'm just questioning whether, and it's a healthy question, I think, whether we need so many attractions during the year to such a point where we're doubling up the Easter weekends. That's. I don't think the game's going in a sinister direction.
So, in terms of the attractions, you just question that then?
I'd question, do we need so many? Yeah, through the year. I'd question whether we need so many spikes throughout the year. Say, well, look what our game's got. It's got Easter, and no other sport does that, and we got Magic Weekend, and no other sport does that, and then we got the Super 8s, and we got the Grand Final, and it's all good. You know, I don't think that they're all bad things. collectively though, if we have them all in one season, to the point where we play 23 games instead of 22, which is the magic weekend, and then we got 2 Easter weekends. So I think they're healthy questions worth asking. That's not me saying the game's going in a direction where we don't want to be. I'm not. That's your quote, not mine.
In terms of the situation at St Helens, I know last year you said it was the most difficult period of your coaching career. What was your view on that? Do you have empathy for Kieran?
It's hard to, yeah, of course I do, but I'm not going to make comments on it. I don't know all the detail. I don't know. I wouldn't ever dare to try and judge a decision that Eamon McManus makes. And I understand where Kieran's at, and sometimes it's incredibly hard to get a team to win some games on a Friday night when everybody wants you to lose almost. I can understand that. So it's a tough call on Kieran. But in as much, I probably know as much about it as you do, and I would never dare make comment.
That's one for me in terms of the whole match with Easter coming up and the fixtures that you've got thereafter. Just how important are these initial 2 points for you and your side?
Yeah, extremely. We've got to back up with it. Doesn't matter who we back up with. We've got to back a game of rugby league up, as I've already been mentioning, on Monday. And yeah, for sure, we want to be getting as many wins as you can. Easter, in the main, is a tough period, and it sorts out your resolve. It sorts out whether your squad's got enough toughness. Now throw a few bans in there and throw a few injuries in there, and it really does stretch you. And we're going to be stretched on Monday.
So obviously, with that in mind, I know you talk about round 7 and how that creeps upon you, but Easter now, is this the real marker of the intentions and abilities of your squad for the rest of the year?
Well, once you come out of Easter, you've then got to deal with Easter. I'm sure whoever takes the field on Monday will just batten down the hatches and get through the game, and it's the next couple of weeks after which it'll be interesting.
Mikolaj Aledzki played with Featherstone last weekend in a strong game against London. Will he come into contention over the Easter period? Yeah, for sure. There's a range of people that may not play on and won't play on tomorrow night, but the strong contention for Monday, and he's one of them. He's had a great run of games at Bradford. Speaking to Jeff Tuvey on the loan deal there, that when he was over there, and he's really impressed with him, and had another strong showing there for Featherstone on Sunday, and he's not somebody now who's a huge gamble that we don't know about. We know that when we put him in, he'll do half a decent job. Have you been surprised how quickly he's developed?
To a degree, yeah, because obviously because of his background, and he hasn't been playing the game for years and years and years, since a 9-year-old. But he's got enough of a background there. But I think his nature, he's a big aggressive lad, and he's keen for hard work, and he's keen to learn, and he certainly has, all the information that we give him, all the coaching that we give him. He's a bit like a sponge. I think he's really benefited from having Adrian Morley as his coach as well. I think Adrian Morley, who's almost iconic, isn't he, in the world of the forward, and I'm not sure whether Mikolaj knows who he's being coached by. Really, I think he's got some of that youthful innocence about him. That he's got a modern day legend coaching him. But certainly in terms of attitudinally, I think there's a real benefit there with Adrian being his coach.
You mentioned Jeff Tuvey and Bradford there. Jordan Lilly, he'd extended his loan deal initially with the Bulls, and you were keen to see him continue to develop there, but is it injuries presumably have meant?
Yeah, it was a shame. On Monday, you've got to do the loan deals quickly, or that particular deal runs out. So we extended that on Monday, early Monday, and then late Monday afternoon, Jimmy Kaino's finger went from being a finger that's going to be bent for the rest of his career, but we'll strap it up and he can play on, to a finger that actually needed operating on, because if we don't put the tendon back within a certain period of time, his hand becomes all crooked. So we had to quickly recall Jordan there and give us cover.
For the squad as a whole, how are they going into the Easter weekend?
Looking forward to it. Obviously we've come off the back of a disappointing loss, and we're looking forward to it. I think the squad's in good shape, and the players play with a huge amount of commitment at Warrington. A huge amount of effort went into that game, and there were periods in that game, I think around about 60 odd minutes, we started to challenge Warrington and start to wrestle some of that momentum back. And I'm sat there watching that after all the field position that we hadn't had, all the possession that we hadn't had. thinking, you know, we're a tough group here, and had we got a try on that 60-minute mark, it wouldn't ever have meant we're going to go away and win the game, but it would have made it a real intense finish. We just couldn't, you know, we didn't have the energy or that offensive consistency in that game to put anything together by the time we got up in their end. But we're looking forward to it. We know Easters, they've all been around the block a few times, and those who are new to the comp, such as the Garbutt and Cuthbertsons and Galloways, they're well aware of it now, and they know it's going to be a tough period. And while as coaches and administrators we all have an opinion on Easter, players just look at it and say, right, well, let's go, you're going to make me do this, well, let's go. And it's a bit like a big challenge. You set them on the field or on a rower or on a bike or whatever it is. There's a grit the teeth and go, and they're looking forward to it. How
important personally for Stevie Ward would it be to put a string of games together now and really get back into the swing of things?
Yeah, I don't think you've got to be an expert of us, the Rhinos or Rugby League, to know that if he puts a string of games together, he becomes an outstanding player. I mean, he's great. I'm sure he'll be good tomorrow night. But if he can just knock 6 or 7, maybe 8, 9, 10 games together, he finds himself in the England team, he finds himself in the England squad, and you know, he's got some great competition in the back row there, but with a run of games, we'll just find out how good he is.
And Keith Galloway, how much he's personally invested in getting himself back ahead of schedule, and the determination he's shown to recover from that.
There's a load of little stories going behind the scenes, isn't there? And you know, I fielded a question from Pundit last couple of weeks ago about one of the players' conditioning when he came back. He had a judgment about his conditioning, and it was a pretty harsh judgment that he made. And everybody's got their own little stories, everybody's got their own little things going on behind the scenes, and Keith came back early, you know, made a decision to came back early which nobody else would know about, and has been living on his own which nobody else would know about, which is hard to do through winter. You know, and his family came over later, but he wanted to do that to get his leg right, and that shows a huge amount of commitment. That's a tough yards then. You know, to be an overseas player living in England on your own in winter, just solely so you can get your leg right, is it's a decision he made which commands respect. And between him and Jason Davison this last 2 or 3 weeks now, he's really accelerated that rehab and got in a position where he can play.